This week we get to read two parshas. We read the parsha of Achrei and we also read the parsha of Kedoshim. In the beginning of the second parsha, the Torah tells us something which is really the theme of this entire parsha, and that is Kedoshim tiyu. You need to be holy. The Torah commands us that because Hashem is holy, you need to be holy as well. On a simple level, this would mean to be holy, to do holy things, to conduct your life in a holy way, nothing too complicated. However, the Gemara tells us that what this pasuk is really trying to tell us, through a whole way of learning it out, that this pasuk actually refers to washing your hands before a meal. But that seems to be the exact opposite of the first interpretation. The first interpretation is focused on intense holiness, an intense connection, trying to attain as if we can the holiness that God has, and one of them is wash your hands before a meal, the most mundane physical thing, which seemingly have no apparent connection to actually being holy. So how exactly do we put the two together? And on a deeper level, how can we achieve the first level of holiness? How could we be so holy so often to the point where we're trying to attain God's level of spirituality? Explains the Rebbe, you could answer on a simple level that the holiness of the first way we explain is possible to be attained after what we spoke about in this week's first parsha, Parshas Achrei, which talks about the service of Yom Kippur, and that after Yom Kippur you daven hard and you have a clean slate, you are cleansed of all averis, and you're able to properly serve Hashem in a full holy manner. But explains the Rebbe, it's so much deeper. The beginning of this week's first parsha is Moshe commanding Aaron Achrei Mos, after the death of his two sons. His two sons, Nadav and Avihu, went into the Kedoshim. They went into the holiest part of the Mishkan, even though they were not permitted to. They were intoxicated. They went in to try to bring the Ketores, the incense, and ultimately died as a result. The reason for this is they had such an intense yearning to connect to Hashem that it surpassed all boundaries, to the point where they achieved Kleisa Nefesh, such an intense yearning that their soul left their body. And the message that this teaches us is that no matter how holy you are, you have to stay in the boundaries, and that there's more work to do. Moshe is telling Aaron, Achrei Mos, you have to focus on the Achrei, you have to focus on the after. Everything you do has to be met with the mindset of, okay, what's next? How am I going to take this to the end? You've never reached the top. How could you be so holy and never reach the top? From what we learn in this week's second parsha, the Torah tells us to be holy. Why? Because Hashem is holy. Hashem's holiness is obviously on an infinite level, and therefore we must also try to be that. If our holiness is rooted in God's holiness, then we must also strive to reach our own infinite levels, constantly going higher and higher, knowing that wherever we are, we have to keep climbing, to keep striving forward. That being said, back to our two explanations of being holy, they're actually one explanation. This week's parshas have a lesson for everybody. For those on a simple level, being holy is as simple as washing your hands, making a bracha al netilas yadayim, taking the most mundane action and making it holy. For those on a higher level, there are more things to do. Everyone has to know that where they are has room for improvement, and it must be improved. The reason why you're down here in the world is because there's more work to do, and therefore one should never be satisfied that what he did was enough. He could be proud of how much he's come, but at the same time know and feel that there is much more to do. The Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, teaches us that we must live with the times, live with the message of each parsha, and therefore this week we have two parshas that teach us one incredible lesson, that no matter how far we feel, we have to know that doing something as simple as washing our hands is doing something holy. It gets us back on track. No matter how holy we feel, we have to know there's always more work to do. And ultimately, with this mindset, we will be able to finish our job by bringing the coming of Mashiach. May he come speedily in our days. Wishing you a good Shabbos.